Hello. So in this video, I'm just going to quickly go over how to use and install those designer resources that I talked about in my one of my more recent videos called Designer Resources. I will link to that below. So this is going to include clip arts and graphics, brushes, patterns, shapes, and fonts that you can download and use in Photoshop and GIMP. So I'm going to just walk you through that pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to start with going to Google and just going to walk you through this the way I do it when I do it myself. So I would just go to Google search. I would use keywords to search the way that I talked about in my previous videos, how to look for content that you are allowed to use. So usually I will just type in free for commercial use Photoshop brushes. And if you want to get more specific, like brushes, such as like trees or grass, you can add that to your search, but I'm just keeping this basic right now to show you how to do this. So I get some links here. Some of them are some of the resources that I already know to use, like Brush Easy here. Sometimes they are just on blogs of other designers who are providing these resources to you for free just because they're being nice. So there are some legit sources out there that I didn't mention. You just have to use your best judgment when you go to a blog to sense if you trust this as a source to download from. This is from Creative Block, and they have 60 best free Photoshop brushes. So they have like markers, marker strokes, paint splatter, banners, and all kinds of different brushes that you can install and use. I'm just going to, just for the purpose of showing you, let's try the watercolor shapes and splatters. I want to click the link and follow it to the download page. What I'm looking for first is, of course, the terms of use. If you are on a resource, a website, whatever, and they don't list in any way what the terms of use are and you're unsure, don't use it. That's just my advice. I only use resources that provide some kind of terms of use so that I am free and clear to use those however the provider intends them to be used. So as you see here, it says here, free for commercial use, terms of use. So I know this is safe to download. So let's see where the download button is, and that is just the picture. So okay, here's the download button. Here's a preview of the brushes. I'm just going to click download. And down here in my browser, it has downloaded a zip file. Most brushes come in a zip file. Sometimes the file will just be the brush file itself, but a lot of times it comes in a zipped package. So if you have a zipper installed in your computer, like WinRAR or something like that, you can unzip these zip packages. So I'm just going to go show in folder. In my downloads folder, here is where it downloaded to. My downloads folder on my computer. It's the watercolor brushes, so this is the one I want. So the way that I install my brushes is, first of all, I organize them on my computer. I don't leave everything in my downloads folder because it gets too messy and cluttery. So in another window here, I will show you how I have, and I'm not sure why it's not showing me my taskbar. There it is. So I have a separate folder on my Google Drive on my computer that is set up for all of my resources that I download and use. So it's in my folder here called Art and Design, and inside of my master folder that I created, I have subfolders for all of the different resources that I either download to use or create myself to use in my projects, in my work. So what I want to do is, you can set this up however you want, but I do recommend doing it this way. I have a brushes folder, so I'm going to double click on that, and in my brushes folder I have subcategories of brushes. So like artistic brushes, brushes that our corners and borders, brushes that are good for drawing, like chalk or, crayon or marker, nature brushes like leaves and clouds, and then I have like writing brushes, which is like handwriting. And again, remember, brushes are like stamps. So, and you can create your own brushes. I can show you how to do that in another video too. It's really easy to turn something into a Photoshop brush. And these brushes can be used in GIMP. These same brush files can be used in GIMP. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So I'm just going to go to, since I downloaded what was called watercolor brushes, I'm going to go to my artistic folder, and I want to open that, and I want to go over here to my downloads folder, and I want to right click the zip file, watercolor brushes, and I'm going to click cut, and I'm going to come over here to my brushes folder where I want to drop it and click paste. Right click and click paste. So now I have it where I want it, and now I'm going to get rid of my downloads window, and I'm going to right click on the zip file, because this is not the brush file, it's just the packaged zip file that contains the brush and probably like a preview image and any of the terms of use documentation. So I'm going to right click on the zip file and click and choose extract here. Again, you need to have a little zip program installed in your computer in order to do this. So I will see if I can include that here on this video. If not, I will in another video. But now I have extracted the contents of this zip file, and they are here in a folder, watercolor brushes. So double click on the folder and you will see inside of here is the actual brush file. It always looks like a paintbrush, and in here they have previews of the brush just so you can see what they are. So that's good to go. I don't need this window anymore. I can well, I'll minimize it for now because for GIMP I'm going to need to open it again. So I'm going to go back here to Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how to install this brush into Photoshop. So I'm going to create a new document. It doesn't matter, this is just for demo, so it doesn't matter the size. And I'm going to go to my brush tool on the left here. It's right here, brush tool. And I'm going to choose, up here at the top of the screen is a drop down that has the brush, shape, and the size. So I'm going to choose that drop down. I'm going to, here's all my brushes that they show up all here. Here's the slider for the size of the brushes and the hardness and softness of the brush. So I'm going to go over to this little gear icon and click it, and I'm going to go down to load brushes, and it already by default has opened to my brushes folder, but just in case it doesn't on yours, just go to the folder that you created to store your brush files. So mine was in my art and design folder in brushes, and I saved it in the artistic folder, and it's in watercolor brushes folder. So I'm going to choose that brush file there, click load, and if I scroll down to my collection of brushes here, they have been installed. So they are all these brushes here. So now I can just choose one, and if I want to change the size of the brush, a hotkey for that is your bracket keys next to your enter key on your keyboard. Left bracket goes down, right bracket increases the size up. So I'm just gonna make sure that up here at the top of the screen my opacity is something I can see. It was not at 100. I'm going to put it at 100. Over here on my layers palette, I just have my locked background layer, so I'm going to just create a new layer just because, and I'm going to stamp my brush, and there it is. So, and say I want to choose a different one of the brushes. Come back up here to the top of the screen where you have your brush and the size. Click that drop down, and then choose another brush and stamp. So, this is how you can use brushes in Photoshop. Now, I'm going to jump over to how to install a brush in GIMP. So, what you need to do first for GIMP is I have the program open here. The brushes palette is open here, and you see my collection of brushes. So now what I want to do is I need my folder back open for my browser folder for my computer. And I'm going to need two windows open. So here's one, and I'm going to open a new window. So I have two windows on my computer side by side. So because I'm going to be dragging the file into a new folder for GIMP. So here is on the left is the where I downloaded the brush before in my artistic brush folder. So I'm just going to right click on the brush file, click copy, and then I'm going to come over to my other window here, and I need to locate the brushes folder for GIMP program. So it's done a little bit differently than Photoshop. So I'm just going to go over to my computer, to my C drive, and I'm going to go to, so in case you didn't see, that was the C drive, just your main computer hard drive. And then I'm going to go over to users right here, and I'm going to select me because I'm the user on this desktop, on this computer. And then in here, I'm going to choose the GIMP 2.8 folder. So GIMP, when you install GIMP, it will install a folder apparently in this location, which holds all the resources for GIMP. So open that, and there will be a brushes folder. So, and as you notice here, there's also a patterns folder and also a fonts folder. So this is where you will come to install your resources for GIMP. So I'm going to open the brushes folder, and I'm just going, since I already copied the file, don't just drag it over because then you'll lose where it was originally, the location, unless you want to. So over here, I'm just going to right click and choose paste. And now I have the same brush installed in my GIMP brushes folder. So now I'm done with these windows, and coming back over to GIMP, as you see, the brushes are not there. So up here in the top right corner of the brushes palette, there's a little drop down menu. Then there's another menu that's called brushes menu. In there is a refresh brushes button, and all that did was just update the brushes. So now I have my the same watercolor brushes in GIMP, and so I can just use my plus. Well, that's for zoom. I'm not sure what the hotkey is for. Oh, it's the same, I think. Yeah, the bracket key works in GIMP as well to increase or decrease the size of the brush, and just stamp. So same thing in GIMP. Okay, so now I'm going to jump over to patterns. How to do patterns. That was for brushes. So I come over to search, and once again I'm just going to type like free for commercial use patterns, and again it's up to you what source you want to use, what source you trust. I don't always use the same source. I just use my best judgment on that. So here's a blog, Graphic Design Junction, and it looks like a good quality blog, and they are providing Photoshop patterns. So all kinds here. I'm going to choose this one, chevron patterns, and I'm going to click on wherever it takes me to the actual download page. As you can see, good thing is that it linked to Brusheezy, so this source is available on Brusheezy, which is already a source that I trust. So before I download it, I want to look for copyright. So if you find copyright here, click on the designer's name, and it will tell you how this designer would like you to use the file. So it says this work is licensed under Creative Commons CC0, which means you don't have to credit. It says you may edit and reuse the works for any purposes without restriction under law. So this is free to use, so I'm going to click download. It's going to make me wait a second. Okay, and then here it is at the bottom of my browser, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before with the watercolor brush. I'm going to locate my downloads folder, and I have the zip file of the pattern here. So I'm going to get my folder where I store all my resources, my brushes and everything. Mine is called Art and Design. And I have a patterns folder here. So I'm going to go to my patterns folder. Here I have all kinds of patterns I've downloaded. And that you can, again, you can organize these folders however you want for yourself. Make this a little bigger. I'm going to just right click over here in my downloads folder on the chevron package and click cut and come over here to my patterns folder on my computer, right click and click paste. And down here is where the file pasted. I'm going to get rid of that window for now. Right click and click extract here, and it's going to give me a folder with the chevron pattern. Here it is. Sometimes it will just give you the file, it won't give you a folder. Just find the file or the folder. So here it is. Here's the pattern file. That's what it looks like, a little checkerboard icon. So it's called navy blue, pink, gold. So I'm just going to leave that for now, minimize it because we do need to do this for GIMP later. Come back to Photoshop, and I'm going to just delete that layer so I can show you patterns. And I'm going to go to, I'm going to do it via adjustment layer. So if you don't use Photoshop, you won't know what this means, but this is a way to get a pattern. Actually, let me do it with fill. So I'm going to just draw a selection. Here's a box selection. Up here at the top, I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go to fill. This is just one way to get a pattern into your page. And in here I have choices. I can fill with just black color, white color, gray. It'll open a color picker, or I can fill with pattern. That's what I want to choose. And in this pattern drop down box, you have all my patterns. And then just like in GIMP, in the right there's a gear. I want to click it and click load patterns. And it opens up to my patterns folder where my computer remembers that I stored my pattern. And I'm going to find chevron, that chevron folder, which is, this is a messy folder that I actually need to organize better. Here it is. So there's the pattern file. Just click on it and click load. And now these chevron patterns have been loaded into my pattern palette. So I'm going to choose the pink one. And also here you can, I guess you can't change the sizing of it, which is really weird from this one, from this way to put the pattern on. But anyway, there's my pattern. An alternative way really quick to add this pattern and be able to actually choose the size of the pattern before you commit to it. Delete that. Here's a new layer. I'm going to I have my selection still selected. I'm going to go to the adjustment layer menu, which is this little circle, half black, half white circle. Click on it, click the pattern option. So this is a pattern adjustment layer. What this means is it's adding a layer of this particular effect over top of any layers that are underneath. So if you have an image underneath here and you don't want you don't want this effect, you don't want this pattern to be applied directly to that layer, an adjustment layer is always able to be separated, turned off, deleted, whatever. So that's why I like adjustment layers. So anyway, here's the pattern menu again in adjustment layer. I choose my pattern, and then here I can choose the scale of the pattern. So if I want to go bigger, if I want to go smaller, that's why I like doing it this way. And once I'm happy with that, I can also move it around while the menu is still open and click OK. So that's Photoshop and how to add a pattern. There is one other way to get a pattern in Photoshop, and I'm not too sure if GIMP has this option, but anyway, I'm going to create a new layer really quickly. Go to File, Open. I want to open a pattern. Say it's just like an image that you had that you want to turn into a pattern. So say you downloaded a swatch. A lot of these are not direct pattern files. They are just swatches. So say for example, this roses swatch. I'm going to open the swatch, which is the sample of the pattern, and this is just an image file. It's just a JPEG or a PNG, and I'm going to go to Edit and Define Pattern. and just call it whatever you want and click OK. And now this swatch is available the same way that the chevron was in your adjustment layer or fill patterns menu. So I'm going to go create another pattern adjustment layer, and there's my floral. So that's another way to turn any image or anything into a pattern in Photoshop. Alright, quickly going back over to GIMP. Okay, so I was having a problem figuring out how to get GIMP patterns to be able to get them in the patterns palette to load them. And I figured out what the problem was is that you can't use the same .pat files that you use for Photoshop for GIMP pattern files. You just put the image, the swatch of the pattern, directly into the GIMP folder, which is your .png. I'm not sure if JPEG works. It might. So I'll just show you how to do that really quickly. Over on the left side, I have my folder on my computer where I store my patterns, my swatches. I'll just choose one, and I will right-click it and select copy because I don't want to move the original file. I just want to copy it into the GIMP patterns folder. On the right side, I have my computer browser window open, and I'm going to go to my C drive, and which is my C drive users, and then I'm going to choose myself and go to GIMP 2.8 folder, open the patterns folder, and in there I have one pattern already. It's just a ping file. I'm going to just copy, right click, and copy and paste the pattern swatch that I want to show you, and then minimize these windows, come over to GIMP, and in the patterns palette, which if you don't have it open over here, it's in I think it's in Windows, and then go to dockable dialogues and patterns. So there it is. And then just go over to the patterns palette, and on the right top there's a little arrow drop down menu. Go to patterns menu and refresh patterns, and it should show the pattern in the palette, and there it is. Just drag and drop it over to your canvas or your page, and I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that. I'm not very good with GIMP. It worked for me earlier. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that. I really need to get better with GIMP, so sorry about that, but that is how you load your patterns into your GIMP. Let me try a new layer. Nope, it still won't let me do it. I was able to drag the pattern over to the page, but it's not working for some reason. I'm really illiterate with GIMP, so hopefully you guys know how to do this better than me at this point. Anyways, yeah, that's how you get it. The swatch will be magnified, so you won't be able to necessarily tell it's the pattern, but they should load at the top here, on the right side here. Okay. Now, shapes. Shapes are something that you can either, if you're in Photoshop or GIMP or Illustrator or Inkscape, you can create your own shapes however you want. If you just want to make like a square or a rounded rectangle, and there you have a shape. Okay, that's the basic way to get a shape. But there are custom shapes that people design out there, and say you want to use one of their custom shapes. This is how to download those and install those as an alternative to making your own shapes. So over here on the web, I have again located on Brush Easy a package of vector shapes. Christmas shapes is the one I'll use. Because as you see here, the copyright on this is, again, Creative Commons 0, means you don't have to give credit. You can use it for any use. So I'm going to download that, just as I did before with the other files, and go to my downloads folder, and Christmas shapes, there it is. I'm going to find my art and design folder here, and I have also a shapes folder. So same thing, Over in my downloads folder, right click the zip file, click cut, come over to the shapes where you store your shapes, right click and click paste, and then I'm going to right click the zip file for the shape, extract here, and then I'm going to find the folder that it would have created for that, which is here, Christmas shapes, and here's the file. So as far as I know, GIMP doesn't have an option to install shapes, custom shapes, so we're going to leave that out for now. If I'm wrong and someone knows, please correct me. So we're done with that. Let's go over to Photoshop and gonna delete this and create a new layer. And I'm going to find my shape. So in the shape tool on the left side here, you find the shape tool. It's got rectangle, rounded. You want to choose the custom shape option right there. And then come to the top of your screen and find the shape palette. Drop down and scroll to the bottom. You see this is all the shapes that are here that I've installed. Go to the gear icon, click on that and do load shapes. And then here is my file for the shapes I just downloaded, and then they appear in the palette. So I guess, well, they're not showing up. Oh, I don't think I had the right shapes. Sorry about that, I had flower shapes. So go back to my shapes folder and go to the Christmas shapes folder. That's what I just downloaded, and click that. And now I have my Christmas shapes installed. And to get the shape, you just come back to your layer, and with the shape tool still active, you just hold down and drag out your shape. And if you want to change the color on the spot, just double click on the square of the layer and choose your color. And your shape can also be edited because it is a vector shape created by paths. So there are points on the shape that allow you to edit it. If you hover over the edges of the shape, there are dots, and on those dots you can hold your control key. I can't remember what it is on Mac, maybe command, and grab that point. Whoops. Grab the handle for that point, and you can change the shape if you want. I'll do another video on pen tool. Okay, that is pen tool right there, editing the path, points on the path, and all of that. Okay, so that's how to do shapes. What else? Let's see, close that out. Let's do fonts. So I'm over here on Font Squirrel, which I did provide in my other video on designer resources, one of the many places you can find free for commercial use fonts. And let's say that I want to search for something vintage. This is what it's going to give me. I want this really nice slab serif here called Nexa Rust. I'm going to click on it. I am just going to, let's see, this has the designer here. It talks about the style. This is what all is included. I can test drive it here. So if I just want to put a custom word, I can see what it's going to look like. And let's see. It says who it's designed by. These fonts are free for commercial use on this website, but if you're on a website and you're not sure, you want to, okay, I just saw it right back there. If you're on a website and you're not sure if it's free for commercial use, look for terms and see right here it says can be used in commercial as well as personal projects. Okay, so it's free to download for that use. But always make sure before you download a font or typeface. Okay, so download Nexa Rust. Here's the download button. And I guess it's taking over to, maybe it's not free anymore. Sometimes that will happen too. So you can download the demo for it, I guess, for free. So let's go back over to another one where you can download the full font for free. And I guess this one is the regular. They're providing the regular font of the typeface family, or typeface of the font family, whatever, for free, but you'd have to add it to the cart here and get it that way. If you want to do that, you can. Those are on third-party websites. But there will be one here, if I can find one, that you can download directly from Font Squirrel. And I think this is probably one here. Download the font file. Okay, so those are but hey, that shows you that there are different ways to get it downloaded. Just make sure you're within the terms of use of that file. So again, I'm going to go to my downloads folder here, and it's called Playfair. I'm going to go to my art and design folder where I store all my things, and I have a folder for fonts. So I'm going to click in there, and over here in downloads, I'm going to right click the zip file for the font, click cut, come over to fonts folder, right click, and click paste. And then I'm going to right click and extract the font in my fonts folder. It will ask you if you want to replace little text files that are already there. I'm just going to click no to all. That's if you have other text files in there, it's going to want to overwrite those. And here are all the fonts that come in the family of the typeface. So you have bold, italic, black, whatever. I'm going to choose regular. If you want to install these all at once, you can right click the top one, hold your shift key, select the very last one, right click, and click install. And it will install all of the components of that font family. So if you just wanted to do one, you would just double click on it. Here's a preview of it, and then there's an install button. So it's already installed, so it's telling me it's not going to do that, so stop. Okay, so that's how to install fonts into Photoshop. So coming over here, I want to use my font. It was called Playfair, so I'm going to get my type tool, and I'm going to type a word. And it's very small and you can't see it, but I'm going to increase the size here. And let me put a background on here that's solid. And so now that I have my word, I need to find my character palette so I can choose the font. So over here in my tools on the right side, if you don't have that open, go up here to the top to Window in Photoshop, go down to Character, and it will open the character palette for you, which is where it controls all your type. So there's a drop down here. I'm going to find Playfair. I have a lot of fonts, so here's Playfair. Here's Bold, and that's how you use your font. And so over in GIMP, for GIMP it's going to be the same way. You're going to have your where you have the fonts stored, or actually that's my GIMP folder. So I have your GIMP folder open, which was again PC, hard drive, C drive, users, your name, GIMP folder, and open fonts, which is right there. And then over here, I'm going to go to where I store my fonts that I downloaded. Here, I want to just copy over one of them for now. So right click the font file that you want to copy, come over to your GIMP fonts folder, click paste. Right click and click paste. And now I can get rid of these and go over to GIMP, and I will assume that it's the font is going to show up in the palette here. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to struggle with finding how to show you that. I know I can change the size here. I'm not seeing where I can change the typeface. I'm not seeing that right away, but I know it's here. There is a tool options for the, oh my, GIMP. I need to really learn how to use GIMP better. Sorry, but if you know how to find the font, it'll be in your font list. It should be because you installed it. So that's how to install it for GIMP. Yeah, I really need to do a video on GIMP when I know it better. So sorry about that. So okay, that's for fonts, and the last one I'm going to show you is how to do for clip art and images, just regular clip art and images you find on the web. So over here I'm at freevintageillustrations.com because I love vintage graphics. I love vintage clip art. So I'm just going to choose one of the images, right click, or just click on it, and what are the download options here? Looks like some sites you can just right click and save image as, and you would go to wherever you save your clip art, which I have a folder for that as well, clip art, and I have a vintage folder for vintage clip art. And I will go to my food folder and save it there. But sometimes there is a download button, depending on what source you're on. So, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory how to get an image to your computer. And then coming over here into Photoshop, I would just go File, Open, go to wherever I saved my image, clip art in vintage, in food, and open my image, and there it is. And then if I want to drop it into my working file, I can just select all, edit, copy, and close that out, edit, paste, and now it's in my working file. So if over here I'm creating a poster or an advertisement or whatever, that's there. And in another video I will show you how to do extracting. So say that you wanted to remove the background from this file and use just one of these cakes here. I'll show you how to do that in another video. So again, same thing in GIMP. It's just File, Open, wherever you saved your image. I don't know why it's not giving me my Google Drive folder. But anyways, yeah, I don't know why it's not giving me my Google Drive folder. But you just open your image the same way in GIMP as you would for any other program. File, Open, find where you saved the picture, and then it'll open in GIMP. So sorry that I'm not too well versed on GIMP right now. But that is how to, install and use your resources that you find out there in your work. Just again, always make sure that you have the rights to use what you find, and you're good to go. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next video, and leave any questions or suggestions down below or message me. Thank you.